All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. So if you got a question, you just post it. It's either going to be to the right of the video, or if you're on a mobile device, it may be below the video there. So you just post your question, and I will answer it. So let's get to the first question of the day. It comes from John D. John D says, "Thanks for all the help. I'm striking the ball and compressing the ball well." All right. Awesome to hear that. Occasional 10-yard pulls, but my biggest issue is the apex of my short irons, X100 shafts. I have shaft lean, and the ball for the most part is straight or a slight draw. Could it be shaft issue or angle of attack issue? So really, you height of the shot, how high the shot goes. So if you're hitting the ball too high, it's really forward shaft lean. That's really what's the driving force. So you may feel like you have more forward shaft lean, or you may feel like you have forward shaft lean, but really if you want to hit it lower, you need more forward shaft lean. So that's what I'd be continuing to do to try and get that shaft leaning a little bit more. So hard to say exactly what's going on without seeing your swing, but irons and wedges and things like that, I tend to play the ball more in the middle of my stance. That's one that's going to help me get a little bit more forward shaft lean, may help me get my hands a little bit more ahead of the golf ball. And two, it makes my angle of attack a little bit steeper as well, which can help you hit the ball lower. So moving that ball back, that's probably the easiest thing that you can do if it's not already too far back. If you're already in the middle of your stance with those clubs, don't move it any further back, because then you're going to be getting on the other end of the spectrum where you're hitting too much into it, and it's going to be hard to be very consistent when you do that. Tend to say pretty much the middle of the stance is going to be a good spot for those clubs. Now, forward shaft lean wise, you just work on getting some more. So that's going to be working on your straight line release, working on the move, just really trying to exaggerate that and getting as much as you want until you get that apex where you want it. And then it could also be compression line. So if you're coming in too shallow and you're very angled away as you're coming in, that can make the ball go higher as well. So you may have this appearance of a decent amount of forward shaft lean, but your angle of attack is very, very shallow coming in. Moving the ball back in your stance will help with that as well, but also getting a little bit more vertical with your compression line. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what the compression line is, it's one of the pieces of the Top Speed Golf system, excuse me, where we look at impact and we want to have, if we draw a line from our lead ankle to our shoulder, we want that to be in a straight line with our hip. We want that to be slightly angled away from the target. Now, it can vary, excuse me, it can vary between clubs. So a driver, for instance, because we want to have that upward angle of attack into the golf ball, we want to have that driver working up into the golf ball. The ground's not in the way. So what we can do is we can have that club bottom out, work up into the ball, and that's going to allow you to get that high launch, low spinning shot. With the iron, we have to make ball first contact. So we need to hit down on the ball a little bit. So moving this compression line, so if here's my impact position, right? If I'm moving this compression line, this is this line right here, back and forward, that's going to change the angle of my tag. If I'm more angled back, that's going to be more shallow or up into the golf ball, and I'm more angled forward, that's more down into the golf ball. So if you can look at your swing, you can see if you're a little bit too far angled away, I recommend for irons being in that 2 to 3 degree angled away range. You can even be pretty vertical with those shorter irons and wedges to get that more downward angle of attack and lower shot. So look at that. Look at your compression line. If you're like in this area, getting more like in this area can do a couple things. One, it's going to steepen your angle of attack, and two, it may get your hands a little bit more forward as well. So one, you're going to want to look at ball position. That might be the easiest thing to do. The second easiest thing to do is probably going to be what I just talked about, the compression line, trying to get more angle forward if you're not already pretty angle forward. And then the last piece would be if you're nailing those, it's really you don't have as much forward shaft lean is what you really need to hit the ball at the height that you want to. So working through the move course some more and the straight line release course some more, are going to help you to get those. So to get to any of those courses, very, very easy. You can get, here's how you can get to those courses very easily. All those ones I just mentioned. So compression line for getting that angled more toward the target. The straight line release to get you releasing that club out in front and more forward shaft lean. The move, which is basically, a lot of the same stuff there. All you have to do is go to the instruction tab at the top of the screen, hover your mouse over that. That will expand a menu, and then you just click on Top Speed Golf System right there. And on that page where you go, after you click that, you'll see all of those options there at the top. For the long game, you'll see all of those. All right. Need a drink there. All right. So Jen's Eric S says, Q, which swing plane would you recommend? 1, the 2 plane, or 2, the 1 plane? Why wouldn't you say 1, the 1 plane, and 2, the 2 plane? 2, to keep the swing as simple as possible. I think the 1 plane is the best. Looking forward to hear your answer. Have a nice weekend. All right. So really the only plane that matters is your downswing plane, is right. So I use whichever one. The simplest thing that you can do is use whichever one gives you the best downswing plane. That's really what it comes down to. Now there's a difference between it's the way that you look at it, right? So I actually think the 2 plane is more simpler. Trying to keep the club on the same plane in the backswing as you do in the downswing, to me, seems much more complicated to make happen. And not to mention, it also can cut down on your distance. If you are bringing the club up to the top like this, and then you got to bring it down on the exact same plane, you're typically going to be swinging pretty flat, right? So you have to swing like this. If your downswing plane is right here. So if you do that, you pretty much have to swing flat, and you're going to lose some distance when you do that. What I recommend doing is, now you can keep in mind that you can do either one. Both of those types of swings, they fall into the Top Speed Golf System. But a 2 plane swing is what you're going to see pretty much every good player doing. And I honestly think it's simpler because the only plane that matters is the one in the downswing. So if you do 2 plane and you get the hands higher, keep in mind, you can do 2 plane and swing really, really flat too. And then you just have to do like that to get on plane. I don't recommend it. That's really going to hurt your distance. But if you get the club higher, you're going to have more space and time to accelerate the club, and you're going to get more speed from doing that. So then you shallow it out in the downswing. That's going to be I think that's the easiest, and that's what you see with most players doing. It's just really, really hard to swing on 1 plane. No one is actually swinging on 1 plane for the most part. No one's really doing that. It's just not really happening. Even players who'd say that they're 1 plane, like a Bryson DeChambeau, for example, right? Says that he's a 1 plane swing. He's not. He's swinging on 2 planes. It's pretty close. But even a guy like that can't do it because the club has to shallow out a little bit in the downswing, even if to get the best results. Even if you're swinging it flat, it still needs to shallow out to get the best results. To get that club to whip through there a little bit. So really what it comes down to is the only plane that matters is the downswing plane. So use whichever one gives you the best results in the downswing, getting that club on plane in the downswing, because you don't hit the ball with your backswing, you hit the ball with the downswing, right? And then if you're struggling with distance, if distance is important to you, which it should be, then I would be trying to go more for the 2 plane so you can get your arms up higher and then shallow it out a little bit more in the downswing. All right. So forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. Alexander. Maybe there's a W in there and there's not supposed to be. But anyway, he asks, hi, I find that when I shallow out the club in the transition between backswing and downswing, that can lead to the club grounding out before the ball. i.e. hit the ground first. How can I avoid that? So one, you might be bringing that club too much from the inside. There is such thing as over shallowing out the club, right? So really what shallowing out the club means, and the reason why it's called shallowing out the club, really what you're doing is you're just getting the club on plane, right? So we just talked about the two plane, right? So if you're bringing the club up high, I can't bring that club down on that same kind of plane because that's going to be steep over the top. I've got to bring that club up high and then shallow it out to get it to be on plane. So that's why it's called shallowing it out, because that's what you're doing to get it to be on plane. If you swing flat, you don't really want to get the club more shallow because you're just going to swing the club too far from the inside. And when I do that, watch, when I have that club too far from the inside, where's that club going to go? It's going to go into the ground first. You know, I'm going to have to make some sort of compensation to get that club not to hit the ground first. So I'm really going to have to slide forward to not get that club to hit the ground first. So you're probably swinging too much into out is most likely what's going on. Really what we're trying to do, and maybe a better term for what it would be, is in the downswing, we need to get that club on plane. And most of the time that involves shallowing the club. But really, shallowing the club is just getting the club on plane. So if you're here and you're doing that, you're dropping that club way too. You're overdoing the shallowing. So I just ease off of the shallowing. You could also not be rotating, because when you shallow the club, you got to rotate. So if you watch, if I shallow out the club and I don't rotate, where's that club going? It's way behind me, and I'm going to chunk the ball. But watch, if I do that same movement and then I rotate, now I'm coming into contact much better. I'm coming down on plane. So it's hard to say exactly without seeing your swing, but look at your swing on video and see, are you rotating? If not, then you need to work on getting that body rotation. Use the legs, get that pelvis rotating in that start of the downswing. Get that body rotating so that club can work down on plane. It may feel like you're swinging over the top, but the reality most likely is what's going to happen is that rotation is going to get you onto plane. It could be, if you're just over shallowing it and you're rotating, so the club's just kind of getting stuck behind you and you're kind of like this, you are rotating, then you need to try and get that elbow more in front here. Get that elbow working more in front of your, get more in front of your rib cage there instead of behind you. And that's going to help you to get that club more in front so that you can get that club working down plane. I'd be looking at those. It could be just a simple shift issue. You're not getting to your lead side. You're not getting your momentum going to your lead side. So it could be that. If you're hanging back on your trail foot and you're hanging back like that and swinging like that, you're going to end up chunking a lot of those shots. So make sure that you're getting to your lead side. So I look at those pieces on video and see what's going on there. It's hard for me to know exactly what's going on, but if you would like my help, I do offer unlimited swing reviews. If you're interested in that, it's a really cool service. All you got to do is go click Get a Review at the top of the page there. That'll bring you to a page where you can sign up. And it's a really cool service. You send me videos of your swing, and I tell you exactly what to do. It's pretty simple. So if we do that, then I know exactly what's going on, exactly what you need to do to stop chunking the ball. I don't know if I have spots available right now. You can look. Last I knew, there was still a waiting list, but I can check really quick. Let's get this fired up. All right. Actually, let's do this. This is going to be easier. So it looks like it does not have, yeah. So no spots available right now, but join that waiting list. So if you scroll down, if you're interested in doing the swing reviews, scroll down. And really, this is one of the best times to do it because of everybody being at home in quarantine. So like I said, I try to open up spots every month or two. As people filter in and out, I'm not able to have spots. There's a limited number of students that I can work with, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would never get to sleep. So if you're interested, click that Get a Review, scroll down, and get on the waiting list. I typically sell out to the waiting list. So if you don't join that waiting list, you may never get an opportunity to sign up if you're interested. So make sure that you join that waiting list. so you can get email whenever I open up spots. All right. So David D says, in the sand, does the grip change or just the angle of the face? And is shot always played forward in stance? Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what's really, really important, I guess it's kind of both. You know, the club is changing in your hand. Let me get to my screen. So we don't want to do this, right, to open up the face. We don't want to just twist our hands. What we want to do is you're taking the hands are going on the club the same way. Like you're still interlocking your grip. You're still doing all that. You're just taking an extreme weak grip is what this would be, because it's opening up the face about 45 degrees. That's what you're trying to do. Now, as far as where for a standard bunker shot, yes, you are playing that ball a little bit more forward in your stance. But if you got like a fried egg or something like that, then you're not really going to play it forward in your stance. You're going to play it more in the middle of your stance, and you're going to try and get this leading edge into the sand right behind the golf ball, right? So normal bunker shot, right? So your typical run-of-the-mill, normal lie bunker shot. Ball. So then this is going to be most bunker shots that you run into, right? So run-of-the-mill bunker shot, you're going to be opening up the face, right? So I'm opening, I don't have a lot of space to show you here, but opening up the face a bunch, and the ball's going to be a little bit forward in your stance, and you're going to be trying hitting the sand, somewhere in this area back here, exiting the sand somewhere in this area, and getting the club to slide through. Now, let's say this is a fried egg, right? You get the dreaded fried egg. Well, if that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to open up the face, right? I'm going to put that ball a little bit more back in my stance, and I'm just going to try and shove this club right into the sand, right behind the golf ball. So right behind the golf ball, I'm going to shove it right in there. And what that's going to do, and I'm going to need to swing hard when I do this as well, what that's going to do is that's going to let that club dig into that sand to get the ball out, because I need it to. If it's a fried egg, basically the ball is underneath the sand, right? It's underneath the top level of the sand. So in order to get this club underneath that ball, I have to let it dig. So I'm going to come in with a more square face. I might open it up a little bit depending on how bad the fried egg is. But I may come in with a little bit less open face, and I'm going to get that club to dig. And I'm going to try and stick it behind there. That's going to blast the sand. That's going to blast the ball out. You'll get out of the sand every single time with a fried egg if you do that. But for a normal sand, that's a hard shot to control. And really, if you're in a fried egg situation, you're just looking for a putt, right? You're just looking. Hopefully, you can get it within 10, 15 feet if you're lucky. But sometimes, it may roll across the green. It's a hard to control shot. It's a bad luck kind of shot. It's a bad luck situation. So, but for a typical, you don't want to do that for all your bunker shots for that reason, because it's hard to control. I mean, it's just blasting the sand out of there, and the ball is typically going to come out low and typically pretty hot, not a lot of spin typically on it. So, for a normal bunker shot, a lot easier to control. If you just open up that face and let that club use that bounce and let that club kind of slide underneath the ball, you have so much more control when you do that. So that's what I recommend doing for a normal bunker shot. But yeah, if you're in a situation where it's not a normal bunker shot, you don't play it in the front of your stance, because you need to get that club into the ground right behind the golf ball to get it to come out. All right. All right, so Thomas O says, good morning, Q. I found the recent video from you and Clay, massive drive, staying connected, awesome. I really felt like I was on the rails and totally connected to the shot from the backswing to the finish. Can you embellish on this? I really felt like I was on the rails and totally connected to the shot from my backswing to the finish. Can you embellish on this? So, yeah, you can. Really what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're disconnecting at the top. So we don't want to be, if you're not familiar with that, the only place that it matters to be connected, folks, is at impact. That is the only place that matters. So at contact, I want to be in this kind of position right here, where my lead arm is kind of cinched to my chest right here, and my trail arm is kind of into my side. So if you look at it from this angle, my trail arm is pretty close to my side here. If we're getting to where we're coming into impact and we're like this, right? We're getting that chicken wing action going. That means that we're not rotating our body. If we're getting this trail arm out away from my body, that most likely means I'm coming over the top, chopping down into the golf ball. I'm not coming down on plane and so on and so forth. But if we keep it like this throughout the swing, right, where I try to keep my everything connected throughout the swing, sure, you can be pretty consistent when you do that. Maybe you'll hit the ball better, but man, you're really restricting yourself in the backswing. So what you want to do is disconnect yourself in the backswing, right? And then reconnect yourself in the downswing. So when you're coming down, it's like this. So if you imagine, if I'm rotating my body, my arms are back here, I'm disconnected, my body is starting to rotate first, right? Well, when I rotate, what happens with my arm? So I'm here at the top, and when I rotate, that's when my lead arm is getting cinched to my body. And when I rotate, my lead arm needs to come down and get next to my cage. That's what's shallowing out the club. I need to get that arm. If I get that and I keep it out there, what happens, right? That's an over-the-top move. If I get there and I get it stuck behind me, right, this is a hard place to hit the golf ball from. I mean, just getting this kind of position right now with that elbow behind you, it's just tough because you're going to either block it a mile to the right or maybe hit a snap hook, or you're going to make some sort of compensation to get that club on plane. It's just really hard to get that shot from there. So, but if we keep it to where we're connected the whole time, I'm right here, and I'm connecting in impact, I'm restricting myself. I'm not going to be able to get enough speed. So here's what the best ball strikers do. Look at Tiger Woods, look at Rory, look at everyone who hits the ball far and wins a lot of money in tournaments, and basically anybody who's been really good. I mean, look at these guys out there right now. They are disconnecting at the top. They're here. Look at Jack Nicklaus, flying elbow. I mean, he was way up, arms really, really high, super disconnected here at the top. But then if you watch in the downswing, what does he do? He gets the lead arm cinched to the chest. He gets that elbow coming into the body, and he rotates as he's coming into contact. So that's really what we need to have happening to be the best, to be as good as you can be. That's what you want to do. So that's what I'd recommend doing, is getting the arms up high, disconnect at the top, and then in the follow through we want to disconnect, right? So right here at impact, and then in the straight line release, I want to disconnect my trail arm from my body as I'm releasing that glove out in front. My lead arm is going to start to work away from my body as well. If I come into contact and I try to stay connected, I'm going to be losing a lot of speed as I'm coming into contact. So the only place that matters to be connected is at impact. That's where you really, really want to be connected. So disconnect at the top, reconnect coming into impact, and then disconnect after impact. That's going to help you get the most speed and be very, very, very consistent when you do that. So Ronald A says, I pretty much know my ball is going right to left slightly. So just aim to the right to compensate. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, if that's your pattern, that's completely fine. Yeah, that's completely fine. Now, if you want to straighten it out or to be able to hit a fade, because having that same ball flight every single time, sure, you might be steady, but you're going to run into situations where you really wish you could hit it straight, or you could hit a fade, right? You really, really wish you could. I assume you're right-handed. So, you're always going to have a pattern that you're most comfortable with, right? And that's going to be your go-to shot. That's the one that you, under pressure, that's the most natural feeling swing you can have. But what good players do is that they're able to hit it straight when they need to. They're able to hit it a fade and a draw when they need to. They can hook it when they need to. They can slice it when they need to. They can hit it high and low and medium trajectory. That's what good players can do. So that's what I would recommend doing, is getting to where you can do that. You can hit fades and draws and things like that. So we have tons of videos on the website for hitting fades and draws. Basically, if you're hitting it right to left. All that basically means is that your face, the direction your club face is pointing at contact, is closed to the direction that your club head is moving as you're coming through contact. So basically, if you think about it in baseball terms, your club may be swinging out to the right toward first base, but your face is pointed more toward third base. That's extreme, but that's essentially what's going on there. Your face is close to the direction the club head is moving. So to hit a fade, it needs to be the opposite, right? I need to be swinging in the direction of third base with my face pointed toward first base. My face is now open to the direction my club is moving. So that's how you get the ball to shape around, is you get the face open to the path and close to the path. Now, if you get those, the face, the direction the club face is pointing and the direction the club head is moving at contact, if you have those in the same direction, there won't be any curvature on your shot. It will, assuming center face contact, it will just go straight. Now, if your path is toward first base and your face is also toward first base, that's where you're hitting it. You're hitting straight toward first base. The same thing for third base. So you want to be on plane with a square club face. That's going to be a straight shot. So like I said, there's a lot of players out there prefer some sort of curvature on the ball, right? It just seems like it's easier to control. It's a lot easier to hit that little curvy shot rather than that dead straight shot every single time. Your best ball strikers out there are going to be, their face and their path are going to be within a couple degrees of each other. There's not going to be a ton of curvature, but it's going to be a small amount of curvature on there. Like Rory McIlroy, for example, he likes to hit a little draw. Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, they all like to hit a little fade. Now, they can hit big draws and big fades when they need to, but that's basically what it comes down to. So what I recommend doing is search our website for fade, draw, whatever shots that you're trying to hit. You can work through some of those drills, or we also have what's called our ball striking masterclass, where we teach you how to control those things. It's actually a 90-day course where you can control those things. We're going to teach you how to hit draws and fades and hit it in different parts of the face, controlling your ground contact, which is where the club comes down. Because really at impact, there's only 4 things that matter, right? 4 things as far as getting the ball to go straight. Now, obviously, speed matters. There's some other things that matter, but not as much as these. So 1 is your face angle, which we talked about. That's the direction the club face is pointing. 2 is your club path, which is the other one that we've talked about, which is the direction the club head is moving through contact. And then you got 3, which is going to be your strike location. So that's where you're striking on the club face. Makes a big difference on where the golf ball goes. If you hit it in the toe, the face will twist open, and the ball will tend to want to draw on you. And it will also, it's really unstable out here when you miss the center of the face by a lot. So sometimes it won't even gear. Yeah, that's what that's called, gear effect. When you hit it on the toe and it curves, it has a draw curve on it. It may just hit the toe and then just go straight right because the face just opens up so much, twists open when you do that. Conversely, same thing happens when you hit it in the heel. The face will close a little bit as you're coming through contact, and it will put fade spin on it, right? And sometimes it will just close so much that it will just turn into a pull, essentially. So those strike locations are very, very important. And then we'll talk about ground contact, which is basically just where the club is hitting the ground in relationship to the golf ball. So controlling that, your divots and where the club's hitting the ground in relation to the ball. That's all of it right there. That's basically what you want to look at. So if you want to learn how to control those things, again, it's a 90-day course. Be on the lookout in your email. This is a course that we offer every month or two. With what's going on right now in the world with the pandemic, I'm not sure when we're going to be offering it next. I think it really just depends. Obviously, you need to have access to a range. You need to be able to see the ball flight. If you have access to something like a simulator or something like that, there's people in the course that have done the course with a SkyTrack, the little home simulator kind of thing. You can do that. Anything that's going to show you kind of the curvature of your shots. That's all great to be able to do. So, but a driving range is preferred. I'd rather have you out there actually seeing real golf balls leaving your face and getting out there. So you got to have access to a range to be able to do it. So anyway, be on the lookout in your email. Hopefully this summer, this will more or less be cleared up a little bit, and everyone's going to be going back to slightly normal lives, right? Hitting the range and things like that, and we'll be able to offer the course. We'll probably offer it quite a bit this summer because we weren't able to offer it as much as we'd like to through this time. So be on the lookout in your email for an opportunity to sign up for that. Like I said, in the summer, we'll probably offer it every month, I would imagine. So be on the lookout for that. So Charlie G says, does a more vertical backswing help shallowing the club in the downswing? It can, because what's going on is you're getting momentum going. So if you think about a Matt Wolff, if you're not familiar with Matt Wolff, he was a PGA Tour rookie last year, won a tournament, kind of has a funky looking golf swing. He's got the golf swing that goes like this, and then he shallows it out like crazy. So if you imagine, if I have a very vertical golf swing, which you can't really get much more vertical than what Matt Wolff is doing, he's bringing that club straight up in the air. And you imagine that's bringing momentum in that direction, right? Which is helping me to shallow out the club. So yes, it can, but it also, a lot of people, I see this all the time, they'll get the club more vertical and they just bring the club straight down. So there's going to be some momentum moving in that direction, which helps. Which can help you to shallow out the club, but it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to shallow out the club. It doesn't mean that that's automatically going to happen. You still have to basically manipulate the club if it's not happening. So if you're bringing this club up like this, don't expect it to shallow out automatically. You need to let that momentum do its work, and you need to get that club shallowing out. If you bring that club up to the top and you just bring it straight down like that, that's going to be coming down steep over the top and so on and so forth. And I see that kind of thing all the time. So you don't hit the golf ball with your backswing. You don't hit the golf ball with your backswing. Your backswing puts you in a good position to have a good downswing. But you really want to focus on what's happening in the downswing. If you can do something in your backswing that helps you do that, then great. But don't rely on your backswing to make your downswing happen. That's a recipe for disaster right there. All right, so Robert Ellis says, any drills that help hitting from uneven lie? Hit the ball pretty well from a flat level surface when on the course, and lie is sloped, chuck it out at the top of the ball. So so what I'd recommend doing, we actually have a vault category that tells you about all of these special shots. So rather than me going through every single one of them, I'll give you the quick tips here. For uphill and downhill lies, match your shoulders to the lie, right? So if I have an uphill lie, I'm going to match my shoulders, try to match my body to that lie so that I can swing along that slope, right? If I have a downhill lie, I'm not going to have the spine tilt angled away like this, right? I'm going to be a little bit more vertical so that I can match basically my angle of attack to be with the slope. Moving it, you may want to move it a little bit further back in your stance on a downhill lie. Uphill lie, I probably wouldn't move it anywhere. I'd keep it in your normal stance position, but match your body to the slope. You don't want to move it more forward because then you're just going to you're already going to be hitting it high because the slope is making you hit it high. So just match your body to the slope. For a side hill, so if you get to where it's below your feet, right, you're going to have a lot more bend in your backside here to get that club down there, and you're going to really need to focus on stabilizing with your legs. So maybe a little bit wider stance to stabilize your legs, and that's basically all you're doing there. Now the ball above your feet, what I'd recommend doing is I would just choke up on the club, take some extra club, choke up on the club, and you're going to feel like you're swinging it around your body more as opposed to more down. It's going to be more around your body. So if you want to check out that vault where we talk about not only all these lies, these different uneven slope lies and things like that, go to the instruction tab at the top of the screen, hover your mouse over that. That will expand a menu. Then go to the vault categories page. When you go to that page, it's going to be in alphabetical order. Special shots is what you're looking for. If you scroll down on that, the special shots there, you'll see it's toward the bottom of the page. Click on that. Not only do we have videos on hitting on uphill, downhill, ball below your feet, ball above your feet, but we also into the wind, those kinds of shots as well. There's tons of kind of all these kinds of special shots that aren't kind of your normal. These are just situations that you run into, a few times in a round that you may be struggling with, and this can definitely help you to do that. So go through that, check out the other videos in there as well. This is all included in your membership. So all the vault category videos. So check those out, and hopefully that helps. All right. So Al Wexander C says, brilliant answer, thanks. And yes, there appears to be an extra W in my name. Not sure. Yeah, okay. So I haven't seen it look like that before. What was Alexander's question? Trying to remember. Oh, shallowing out the club. Yep. Yeah. So that's instructor's fault right there. That's instructors using buzzwords. Like one instructor probably started saying shallowing a long time ago, right? And now that's what everyone says, even though that may not necessarily be what's happening. What's really happening is you're just getting the club on plane. You're manipulating the club in some way to get it on plane. It is all you're doing. Because if you're getting a big backswing, which you should be getting your hands nice and high so you can get some good speed and power. But we need to get that club back on plane on the downswing. The plane isn't way up here, right? The plane's more like down here. So I need to get that club there. Whether I swing like this or whether I swing like this, I need to get that club working more down in that position where the butt end of the club's pointing more at the golf ball. All right, awesome. All right, so Richard S. says, morning Q, I started on the 20-minute distance fix and then found the Stable Fluid Spine program because my spine and was extending during the downswing lifting. My question is there another program I should work on before I go back to the 20-minute distance fix? Thanks, Q. Sure look forward to your show every morning. So, Richard, you got to look at what's most important to you, okay? So, and I would just stick with that and not jump around everywhere. So if distance is the most important thing to you, then work on the 20-minute distance fix. Work through that. Put your whole focus on that. And that's really all I would do. If you're happy with your distance, if you're swinging 120 miles per hour, then you should be pretty happy with your club head speed. If you're in that kind of situation, then I would say, yeah, go work on the Stable Fluid Spine, work through the Top Speed Golf system. The Stable Fluid Spine is a part of the Top Speed Golf system. So we have Stable Fluid Spine is the first piece, and then we're going to have the power turn, which if you've done the 20-minute distance fix, your power turn is probably pretty good. But one thing that 20-minute distance fix doesn't do is it doesn't get you to where you're ingraining and making those motions second nature. So if you're someone who's used to not getting a full shoulder turn and you work through the 20-minute distance fix and you do basically a couple drills where you're getting a bigger shoulder turn, when you move away from that, you're most likely you're going to probably go back to your old habit, right? So that's what it comes down to, is you really can't ever get rid of a habit. All you can really do is create new habits to overcome the old ones, right? So if you don't take the time to fully ingrain it, that other habit may continue to creep back in there, right? So working through the power turn course is going to help you to fully ingrain that, to make it to where it is second nature and you don't even have to think about it. It's automatic. So Stable Fluid Spine, then we have the power turn. Then we have the lag course. Again, same thing as the 20-minute distance fix. We have some lag drills in the 20-minute distance fix that's going to help you to get lag instantly, but it's not going to be fully ingrained. So to fully ingrain those, you want to make sure that you're getting the reps in, working through level 1, level 2, level 3 of the top speed lag course. Then you're going to look at the fourth piece, which is your compression line, which I talked about earlier, but this is the line that goes from at impact, your lead ankle, lead hip, and lead shoulder. We want that to all be in a straight line at contact, and we want that to be slightly angled away from the target. That's where we want to be in a good impact position. We don't want to be bumped out right? So if we're bumped out, we can't rotate. We want to be rotated open about 45 degrees there, and we want to have that all in a nice straight line there. That's going to give you a really good impact position there. So that's a piece that you may need to work on to get that to where you're getting in a good impact position and graining that. And then the last piece is your straight line release, which is where we're coming into contact and we're releasing that club out in front. So that's going to help you to get some good forward shaftling and some good speed. Again, these are some things that we work on in the 20-minute distance fix with the half backswing, full follow through drill, the whiplash release kind of drill. There's drills in here that touch on these things, and they're going to help you to get speed as you work through the course. But to fully ingrain these things, that's what you want to do. You want to work through the actual course in the Top Speed Golf system. So I'd say if you're a new member, and you or someone who maybe hasn't dug into the membership very much, or is kind of looking for a new path, whatever it might be, what I'd recommend doing is if you're not swinging 120 miles per hour, you probably need to be working through the 20-minute distance fix, right? So we need to make sure that we're getting some good speed. So now going through that's going to help you to get your speed up there. And then after that, what I'd recommend doing is working through the Top Speed Golf system so that you can fully ingrain those pieces. So put all of your focus in the 20-minute distance fix right now. Get to where you are getting 100% focus on it, because that's what they found is that if you focus on one thing, you're really going to make a lot more progress. Whereas if I'm working on, okay, I got my 20-minute distance fix, and I'm also working on the Never Slice Again course. I'm also working on my compression line. You're being pulled in so many different directions. You're not able to put your full focus on something. So you're going to be basically, not putting as much focus into something. You're not going to get as much out of it. So if you really put all your focus into the 20-minute distance fix, you're going to see much better gains as you go through it. And then after that, I'll be working through the Top Speed Golf system and fully ingraining those pieces so that they become automatic. You don't even have to think about it. And you have this distance and accuracy forever. It's not something that just happened that you're on a hot streak right now and then you stop working on it and then you lose everything, right? So if you work through the reps in the Top Speed Golf system after the 20-minute distance fix, you will continue to see improvement, and then you'll keep that improvement forever, and it'll become fully ingrained and where it's automatic and you don't even have to think about it. All right. So Alan B says, I use the line around the center of the ball, aligning putts, but I'm finding it difficult to get the ball to roll perfectly over and over, and always have a slightly offset on the bias of the roll. Should I be able to get the ball to roll perfectly and over? And if so, do you have any tips? So one thing we have to understand is that putting surfaces, they are not perfect surfaces. So to expect the ball to roll perfectly on that, you can hit a putt and putt it the exact same way. You can be a robot and putt it the exact same way every single time, and you can get a different result every single time. And that's because putting surfaces are not perfect. There can be a little blade of grass that it hits, and it makes it go off course. It could hit a little bug. It could be a little rock. There's all kinds of things that can happen there. So I wouldn't worry about it if you're not getting that perfect roll every single time. Putting surfaces are just not perfect. So you're not going to get that perfect roll every single time. We actually, not sure if you've seen that. I think it's called a perfect putt or something like that. But basically, it's this device. It's almost like a roller coaster for a golf ball. You set it in there, and it rolls it perfectly every single time. And we took it out and played around with it, and you roll it from the same place every single time. And from a certain distance away, the dispersion of the golf balls was crazy. I mean, there'd be like 5 feet between a golf ball, putting it the exact same way. So I think we see PGA Tour, right? And we see these, those greens that they play, they're not perfect either. And they're about as good as it's going to get. And we see that their ball is rolling perfectly sometimes. And that's not all the time, right? Well, a lot of times we're seeing the putts that go in, not the ones that they miss. So I wouldn't worry about it getting that perfect every single time. If you're getting it to where that ball is rolling pretty darn close, most of the time, that I would say you're in good shape. It's not something that I would worry about, but understand that it's not going to be perfect every single time. You're going to get that. Now, what you can do is you can take your video. If you have a phone that has a slow motion camera on it, what you can do is you can set it kind of behind your ball there, behind you, and see where that line starts to go. So if you see, actually, I'm not sure if I have. Yep. So one of these balls like this is from Eyeline Golf. It's kind of a cool ball. It's like a yin yang kind of ball. So if you set this up like this and you use like a slow motion camera, if you watch and you see the ball starts to go like that, right away, it's starting, because if you look on slow motion, you'll hit it and you may be able to see, okay, it's starting like that right away. Well, that means that your face is probably too closed, right, as you're coming in. So if you see a tendency of all your putts doing that, you're just closing the face too much. So moving the ball back in your stance a little bit, holding the face open a little bit more, trying to feel like you're not, keeping your hands more solid, all those things that try to open up the face a little bit more as you're coming through. You could be swinging too much into out as well. So you may want to feel like you're swinging more back and to the left as you're coming through the ball. So you can kind of see where the ball starts going. If you're starting to see a tendency of that every single time, then adjust what's going on there. But if you're getting it to start pretty good every time, and then you see it start to wobble toward the end, that's just imperfect greens, right? That's just, it hit a little blade of grass or a rock or a bug or something, and it just, it may not put it off course very much, but that can definitely change the wobble of the ball a little bit. All right, so Dale asked about the uneven lines. I just talked about that a minute ago. So hopefully you saw the answer for that. If you didn't see the answer for that, we archive all of these. So after we're done, I archive these. If you go to the office hours tab, click the office hours highlights page, you can go and watch the archived office hours. All right. So Luke F says, working through TSG system at home, how much weight should we put into the ball of our feet to get from hitting foam balls? Okay, let me read that again. Working through TSG system at home, how much weight should we put into the ball flight we get? Oh, from hitting foam balls? It really depends. It depends on the foam balls. So typically what I found with foam balls, like if you hit a slice, it will fade. And if you hit a draw, it will draw. If you hit it straight, it will go straight. The thing is that they're easily influenced by the elements, right? So if it's a little bit windy out and you hit a foam ball, the wind's going to blow it. So you may hit a fade, but if the wind's blowing the other way, it may actually make it look like a draw. And if you hit a little fade and the wind's blowing in the direction of the fade, then it may look like a huge slice. So if it's really tame out there, there's no wind, you can definitely put a little bit of weight into how the ball is flying for sure. The foam ball golf balls that I recommend, they're called Almost golf balls. Those seem to be the most. And some of them can be, if they're manufactured in a way where the balls are kind of uneven, it's just a little foam ball that's the shape of a ball, then it may fly funny. But I know that the Almost golf balls, they have a pretty good shot pattern as far as the way that they fly. They're pretty well made. So I could definitely put some weight into those, but keep in mind, like, wind is definitely going to be able to take those and make it look like a bigger slice or draw than what's actually happening. All right, so Ken C says, Q, I have a 70-yard pitching zone beside my house. Awesome. All of a sudden, a serious virus hit me called the Shanks. Oh, good. I thought you were going to say the coronavirus. So that's not good. All right, so Shanks. Some people would rather probably get the coronavirus than the Shanks. And the harder I try to stop, the more frequent it becomes. Thoughts? So let's talk about what's going on when you're hitting Shanks. So the first thing that I would do when hitting a Shank is I would intentionally try to hit the ball off the toe. That's what I would do. Set up to the way you normally would, and then try to hit it off the toe. So all that is just adjusting your feel to get the desired result that you want. So right now, you're trying to hit it off the center of the face, but this is happening, right? The shanks. And even the ones that you're not shanking are probably being hit on the heel of the club, right? So adjust your feel to get the desired result that you want. If you're still hitting it in the heel, then exaggerate it even more, right? If you hit it in the toe, then that's great. You made change. All you have to do now is just ease off of that. So that's the first and easiest thing that you can do. The second thing that I would look at is how close are you standing to the golf ball? If you are standing on top of the golf ball with no real room for your hands, any slight movement of your body toward the golf ball, or maybe it just feels more comfortable to swing your arms away from your body a little bit, is going to end up in a hosel rocket, right? So give yourself space there. You should have a nice amount of space here between your thighs and your hands there. The second, or the last thing that I would look at is, are your hips moving toward the golf ball through contact? So if you watch, maybe you're hitting pitches and you're going like that, right? So pitch shots are looking like that. So get in your lead heel and rotate your hip back. Don't rotate your trail hip toward the ball. Rotate your lead hip away from the ball. So that would look something like this. If I'm set up to this pitch shot, my hip is going like that. It's going away from the ball. My lead hip is not, or my trail hip is not going toward the ball. So if you look at it from this angle, that's most likely what you're doing, something like that. You want to be doing that. So clearing that out. So get in your lead heel, clear that out as you're coming through there. Also, the last thing that I would look at is, are you swinging too much from the inside? If you were swinging too much for the inside on these pitch shots, and this kind of goes together with the hips moving that way. Your hosel is working right toward that golf ball. So you may need to feel like you're coming over the top. So look at your swing on video and see what's going on there. Are you doing this hip thrust motion where your trail hip is moving toward the golf ball? If that's the case, you need to get in your lead heel and get the hip opening and away from the golf ball. Don't move the trail hip toward the golf ball. Move the lead hip away from the golf ball. So if you imagine, if I'm pivoting right now, you may feel like you're opening your hips, but you're just going like that. So my belt buckle is moving toward the golf ball. What you want to feel like is your body is opening, but your belt buckle is moving away from the golf ball. So see the difference there? You're doing that. So this is opening the hips, but you're just doing that, right? You're basically pivoting off of your lead leg, your lead hip. You're pivoting off of there. You're opening the door that way. You want to basically feel like you're pivoting off your trail hip and it's opening like that, right? Move your hip away from the ball as you're coming through. And most likely that will probably get the club to work down more on plane too. Because if I do this, my club's going to want to drop underneath and I'm bringing that hosel in there. Whereas if I do this, my club's going to want to work more down on plane as I'm coming through. So look at that on video and then get that proper feeling of that hip movement through contact. All right. So Ronald A says, hey, Q, I'm right-handed. Thank you so much, man. You were extremely thorough in answering my question, and I can review your answer to my question personally. Yeah, no problem, Ronald. Yeah, so if you want to go check out and watch the answer to your question over and over and over until your heart's content, like I said, we archive these, and you can go watch it. So if you kind of forget what I talked about, maybe you didn't take notes or something like that, you can go after I get done here. I try to do it within a half hour because usually when I get done, I gotta go do something real quick, and then I come back, and sometimes I forget to archive it, but I always try to do it right after. So yeah, archive it, go to the office hours, highlights tab. And then if you go below the highlights, so we'll have the 5 highlights there from last week. And then if you go below that, excuse me, you'll be able to see the archived ones, and there's 200 some office hours in there that you can go watch. Hard to believe that I've done that many, but yeah. All right. So Rod M says, when I look at my video, I am checking for the shaft at release or near release to have the shaft split my arms. I noticed the pros doing that later in the follow through. Then I have only completed 4 steps in the spine series, but boy, is there already great improvement. Awesome, Rob or Rod. Glad to hear things are working better. So yeah, get that spine angle, because keep in mind here, if I'm not moving my spine correctly, I'm not going to be able to get this club to release out in front. It's just not going to happen, right? So if you imagine, really the most important spine angle is the one that at impact. So at impact, we want to be about 20, 25 degrees angled away. So that doesn't come from this. That's not just the spine going, your spine curves, right? So really your spine is kind of like this at impact, right? So I'm opened up, right? And I've got what's called side bend here. And you can see that puts my spine angle more in this angled away position, right? That's going to allow me to release that club out front. If I don't have this side bend here and I'm just coming into contact like that, that's where I'm going to release the club. I'm going to be releasing it basically right at the golf ball. I'm not going to get it to release out front. So working on that stable fluid spine course is really, really important, because that's going to get you to where you're opening up and you're getting that side bend as you're coming into contact. So to look at it from this angle, I'm coming into contact and you can see here, I'm crunching into my side. You can see my shirt right here is starting to wrinkle. That's from getting that crunch into my side there. That's how you get into that position right there. So if you're not side bending when you're coming into contact, you're going to have a hard time releasing that club out front. You're going to have a hard time getting that angle that we talk about, that 18 to 25 degree, 20 to 25 degree angle away from the target coming into contact, because you're just going to end up, releasing that club early if you don't. All right. So Luke F says these sessions are awesome. Just wanted to say that. Thanks, Q. Awesome, Luke. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it. Hopefully everybody's staying healthy and everything. Right now I think a lot of people are stuck at home, so they're not able to get out, and this may be their only contact with somebody from the outside world for now. So we got a couple more minutes here if you got any last minute questions, and then we'll call it a day, and we'll go head out to the weekend. So yeah, I'll take one more question if you got it. If not, we will wrap it up for today. Dale says, thanks, Q. Stay safe. No problem, buddy. You too. Yeah, hopefully we're going to be getting to where we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here soon. I'm hoping. David W. says, in fairway bunkers, I hit sand almost every time. Help. All right, so fairway bunkers. Let's talk about that real quick, and then we will wrap it up for today. So fairway bunkers. Really, fairway bunkers, you're going to hit just like you would a fairway shot. There's just a couple adjustments that you want to make. In the bunker, it is paramount that you make ball first contact. It's paramount. So here's how we try to make that more of a certainty as opposed to like your normal shot where you can hit through the grass a little bit a lot of times, especially if you have kind of a cushy lie, you can chunk the ball and still hit a great shot. But if you do that in the bunker, it is over. You're not going to hit the ball anywhere. So first thing I would do is I would take some extra club. So if you're 150 out, and that's usually an 8-iron for you or something like that, get out your 7-iron. So that's step number one. Step number two is I want you to choke up on the club a little bit. So choke up like an inch on the club. That's why we clubbed up, because we're going to be choking up on it a little bit. When you choke up on the club, you don't get as much speed because the lever arm isn't as long, right? The inner parts of the fan blade, when it's spinning, doesn't go as fast as the outer parts. So that's the same thing that's happening here. We were choking up on the club a little bit. That's why we took extra club. The reason why we choke up is because it gives you a little bit more control of the club. So we're raising the likelihood that you're going to be able to control this and get ball first contact. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get into the sand, and I just want you to dig a little tiny bit, just a tiny bit in the sand. And the reason why we do that is that Sand, unlike the fairway, right, is an unstable surface, right? So we need to dig in to get a little bit more stability. If we're just kind of standing on the top of the sand, it's possible our feet can kind of slip. And again, that's going to make it more difficult to control the club. So it's just a little dig. It's just boop, boop with your feet. That's it. Just a little tiny dig. Now, we don't want to dig down way low into it because that's going to increase the likelihood that we're coming down into the sand. It's going to move the sand closer to you, right? So just a little bit to give you some stability. So that's that piece there. And it also gives you a feeling for how soft or hard the sand is. Now you're going to have that ball. It's going to be, typically you're going to be playing the ball just ahead of the middle of your stance. So straight down from the lead ear, right behind the shirt logo here. That's going to be just a little bit ahead of the middle of my stance. For a fairway bunker shot, get that about in the middle of your stance. It's going to make it a little bit easier to make that ball first contact. Sure, you'll be coming down a little bit more steep into it, but it's more important that you get that ball first contact. And then it's just a normal swing. It's just you take your normal swing at it, and you try to make ball first contact. Make sure you get that weight shift to the lead side. Make sure you get forward so that you can make that ball first contact. And what I would do is, if it's possible, go practice it. Because these tips are great. And if you can remember the next time that you go out to the course and you're playing around, you end up in a fairway bunker, that's great. But it really takes some practice to get the confidence with it and to make it to where it's second nature. So if at all possible, I would go try and practice this. So again, number 1, extra club. Number 2, choke up. Number 3, ball in the middle of your stance. Number 4, dig in a little bit. Then just take your normal swing. Make sure you make that ball first contact. All right, that's fairway bunker. All right, so thanks everybody for joining me. We'll be back here Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. Everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you next time.